guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. I'm back here at Reeves Subaru and we have some top-down fun. This is a 2017 Fiat 124 Spider. This one is at the Lusso trim, but before we dive into this convertible sports car, let's talk a little bit about Fiat history. That iconic Italian brand Fiat has been around since 1899, if you could believe that. So much rich heritage, not only from automobile production, but also in racing. Now, what's fascinating is that the 124 Spider once existed before its current rendition, which is behind me. The first year of the 124 Spider was actually 1966. And that was when Fiat was selling cars here in the United States, because it's been a love-hate relationship with Fiat and the United States and car production. They sold cars here, then they stopped selling cars, then they came back, and they're still presently selling cars. Now, the bad news is 2020 is the final year that they're going to sell the 124 Spider here in the United States. And what's fascinating is that this is actually a joint effort between Mazda and Fiat. So you're going to get that European, Italian flavor of styling, a little bit different powertrain option, but you're getting that great chassis that was developed by the Mazda engineers to be a fun, nimble driving sports car. Let's go ahead though, let's dive into this Fiat 124 Spider and see, is it the perfect sports car convertible at a great price? Right off the bat, you'll notice that Italian styling. I love the way they took the Fiat Spider, the 124 Spider from 1966, and brought the design elements. Now, frame, the chassis is the same as the Miata. This is all going to be different. And what's interesting is that the 124 Spider is actually a little bit larger than the Miata, which I think some people really like. Headlight housing, unique design, fits it to a T. You got your LED daytime running lamp, your projector beam, headlight in there. I like the way there's a little bit of flat black, and I like the way that they sunk it into the front fascia. You drop down, you have your functional fog lamps, a little bit of flat black. The great news is nothing fake here. Everything is functional for lighting, and also the style is spot on the money. We come across the front, you can see how low and how wide it is. Much more of a shark or stingray look to it rather than the Mazda Miata. Mazda Miata looks a little bit more Japanese anime, I would call it, when you're comparing it to this car. And that's not a bad thing, it's just different. You have your Fiat badge. I like that nice chrome finish, that iconic dark red color. Goes all the way back to 1899. You have your grille design, both top and bottom. If you look closely behind this lower grille, one thing you'll see that you're not going to see on a Miata is an intercooler. This actually has a turbocharged engine rather than a naturally aspirated engine like in the Mazda Miata. But I really like the way they extended the corners of the front fascia, and it definitely has that classic Italian style. Now, when we get up onto the hood, look at a picture of an original 1966 124 Spider. The hood is spot on the money. I love the U-shaped indentations, so much character, so much flair. Even the way the fenders kind of peek up, and it's perfect for when you're behind the wheel of this car to really give you a great reference point as you're carving corners like it's Thanksgiving Day. Now, when we come around the bend, on this Lusso trim, this is the wheel and tire setup that we're working with. So you have a 10-spoke, bright silver, metallic silver wheel. It's a 17-inch wheel, 205 on the width of the tire, and that's a 45 series sidewall. Gives it a nice clean look, and it's working well with the white. You go into the fender, and like I said, all of this is unique to the Fiat 124 Spider. And the funny thing is that, or the interesting thing I should say, is that final assembly is right there in Hiroshima, Japan, where they produced the Mazda Miata. But you have your side marker light. I like the way they kind of make a body line around it to kind of sink it in a little bit. You have the lower sill extension, just enough to give it some nice character, some nice flair. Color matched on the mirror caps, and this white pearlescent paint is absolutely beautiful. I like the way on the 124 Spiders, the way they put the silver window treatment on the Lusso around the windshield, gives it that classic sports car look. You keep working your way back and you can see the body lines. Nice flow of lines. It's a good looking car. It really, really is. Now, one zonk is going to be this right here. I don't know why they couldn't just go with a shark fin antenna, why they're using that. It sort of makes it look like a remote control car. But when you get to the back rear fascia, there's your Fiat badge. I like the way you have your two roll bar hoops, also bright silver, just like around the window frame, and then classy taillight design. You're gonna have your LED taillights. Here's something unique. You see this center area? This is color matched to the car. So if you get a black car, this area would be black, blue, so on and so forth. So I like the way they brought that white pearlescent paint. Classic badge. That's a classic Fiat badge, that 124 Spider. You're gonna get your dual exhaust, that lower bumper area with your reverse light built in, but very, very clean from the back. Let's go ahead, pop the hood, and see what's powering this 124 Spider. All right, guys, we got the hood pop. Now, you do have a prop rod, but I'm not gonna zonk it because this is that minimalistic sports car top-down fun. Underneath the hood, like I was saying, compared to the Miata, is a totally different power plant. You're looking at that 1.4 liter turbocharged engine. So unlike the Miata, this one does have a turbocharger. It's basically the same engine out of the Fiat 500, but they added a little bit more boost. So horsepower wise, 160 horsepower, 184 pound-feet of torque. You're looking at 22 pounds of boost produced out of that turbocharged engine. You could have it both ways, 6-speed auto or a 6-speed manual. The car weighs a feather light 2,500 pounds, 0 to 60, 6.6 seconds, quarter mile, 14.8. MPG's great return, 26.3 in the city and 36 on the highway. What's nice is when you do pop the hood, you could clearly see that Garrett turbocharger nicely placed up top. This is rear-wheel drive, hence the way that the engine is sitting in the chassis. But why don't we go ahead, let's fire up this 124 Spider and see what it sounds like. All right, guys, top-down fun in your Fiat 124 Spider. I know you're at that point, you're like, Joe, how much is this? Well, brand new, this vehicle was around $30,000. With 13,323 miles, they're asking around $18,000 for this particular model. Let's see what you get for the money. Now, to the door panels, simple, classic. So you're gonna have some leatherette material on the armrest. It's on the soft side. You have some silver trim, both on the door handle and the door handle to open the door, and flat black everywhere else. So you're not gonna have to worry about fingerprints, but classic and simple, that's all you need. Now, when you go to the dash, you're gonna see a lot of similarities, just like on the door between this and the Miata. Very similar AC vents, a little bit of silver. There's some gloss black that Fiat brings in, just a little bit. I think it's classy and you're not really gonna touch it, but soft material, soft material. You have your 7-inch infotainment system screen, which it's touchscreen, and you do have navigation, which is really nice. Or you could use the rotary knob to get through and direct yourself, but very easy to navigate just by touching. Another AC vent here. I like the way they maximize the space in the Miata and the 124. So this AC vent is actually for the passenger to get the passenger to, and then the driver has two as well. Simple on the AC controls, easy to understand. Heated seats. You have a little tiny cubby here for a Snickers bar or two USBs. This one has the 6-speed automatic transmission. I'm gonna put it in reverse, let you see out back. No trajectory, and it's a little grainy, but you do have a backup camera. I'll put it back into park. Here's that rotary dial where you could go through the different options in your infotainment system. Very easy to use. Good old-fashioned e-brake, some nice white stitching. It's semi-soft on this armrest. You open it up and you could probably fill this up with some M&Ms. That's about it. Maybe some Planters peanuts. That's about that. Cup holders. Now the good news is you do have two cup holders. The even better news is you could take these out and just throw them. They're kind of pointless and they're in the way, but you do have a glove box. Put your driving gloves back there. Maybe you could put, I'd say you could probably fit a softball in there. So if you like to drive around with a softball in your car, that's a good place to put it. Seats, I like it. The stitch work is great. It's got a nice Italian feel and flavor to it. The bolstering is not too shabby. Here's the funny thing, key fob. So this is a Mazda key fob. All they did was popped out the Mazda logo and put a Fiat logo, but it's got all the same great functions as your Mazda key fob. Another thing that I love about the Mazda or the 124 Spider is the top. You just go like that and then watch this. Top up. You don't need electric motors. It cuts down on the weight. Real easy peasy. And then you're like, well, Joe, make that happen again. Do it again. Do it again. Watch this. Locks down. Got a great look to it. But why don't you come over to the business end? I want to show you behind the wheel of this 124 Spider. All right, guys. Now the great news is, if you're 6 feet tall like myself, you still got plenty of room in here. The air is going to be directed right over you from that higher window frame. You have your manual seat controls. So very, very simple on the controls. Not a lot of adjustment, but to be honest with you, I'm able to find the sweet spot just by maximizing all the settings. Go all the way back, seat all the way back. Steering wheel has a nice thickness to it. I do like the stitching. You have that Fiat logo, silver. If it looks familiar, guess what? This is a Mazda steering wheel. They just changed the layout of it with the Fiat logo. Dash though, same story. Great Mazda dash. You have your tachometer in the center, gear indicator, then you're gonna have your analog speedometer and a digital gauge over to the left. No paddles on the back of the steering wheel to shift. If you want to manually shift, all you got to do is you put it into drive, you push it over to manual, and now you're going down gears and up gears, and you have your gear indicator to get that. But why don't we check out the trunk, see how usable this Fiat 124 Spider is. All right, guys, let's see what kind of junk we can fit in the trunk of a 124 Spider. You pop it, it's easy to open, and the great news is you actually have a little bit more room than the Mazda Miata. You could easily get a case of water, of 48 bottles from Costco, drop that down, and then get a couple other things like a big old bottle of ketchup, maybe some mayonnaise, maybe the big huge bag of Lay's chips. But the good news is you have nice, lockable, safe, dry storage in this 124 Spider. But let's get to the best part. It's not about the size of a man's bottle of ketchup. It's how he drives it. So let's go ahead and take this 124 Spider for a spin. All right, guys, we're in the 124 Spider. Now, right away, a lot of the things that you like, if you've been in a Miata, you're actually gonna like it here. I do really love looking out over the hood and seeing the unique body design of the 124 Spider. It's still the same amount of room. You know, if you go with a new Miata, you're gonna get a tilting and telescoping steering wheel, as well as in here, which is great. But I think personally, naturally aspirated engine is, at least the way this one is set up with the turbo, I like the naturally aspirated engine in the Miata a little bit more, and I really haven't even gotten on it yet. All right, guys, driving the Fiat 124 Spider. The nice thing is that it soaks up bumps pretty well. I like the feedback I'm getting from the steering wheel. Let's see how she handles. I'm gonna leave it in automatic mode, on throttle, on the brakes. Turning is very nice, super smooth. I mean, the car weighs 2,500 pounds, so of course it's gonna be fun to drive. I mean, the automatic transmission kills it for me, and the turbocharged engine, it doesn't have any guts. There's nothing there, it's empty. At least with the naturally aspirated engine in the Miata, you know, yeah, you gotta wind it out, but you're eventually gonna get to that point. This is not as invigorating, so to speak. All right, guys, we're gonna go back through some twisties. I'm gonna have it in manual shift mode, see if that's a little bit more invigorating. Going over those bumps, it is a little shaky. Put it down into second gear, first gear, on throttle, second gear. I'm gonna leave it in second, on the brakes, turn in nice and crisp. Here we go. Now it's feeling a little bit better, decreasing radius. A classic rear wheel drive. You can actually hear the turbo spool up a little bit, which is nice. So having it in manual shift mode, night and day difference. Night and day difference. It just doesn't feel as nimble. It is nimble, but just not as nimble as the Miata. If you have driven the new Miata and then you get in this, I think you're gonna be let down. Now, obviously, there is also the 124 Spider, the Abarth edition, but that's just more money. And I know that they do change up springs and some of the other suspension bits. Would probably be a little bit more of a lighter feel to the steering and more nimble, but I think the engine is really what's obviously weighing this car down like a boat anchor. But still a fun option, and if you want something unique, you're never gonna see one of these. I mean, I see a 124 Spider like every blue moon, which is about every 22 weeks. So that's usually how I have it marked on my calendar. But driving it normal, I mean, it's smooth. You're gonna get awesome MPGs. And if you need a little bit more trunk space, then I guess it's your mind's already made up. You have to go this route because the Miata does have a smaller trunk. But just driving around town, I mean, it's a fun around town car. You can turn up the wick a little bit. I just want a manual. Maybe if it had a manual, that would change my overall feel of it, but we have to compare what we have, and this 6-speed automatic is just, it's a letdown, to be honest with you. But the car idles nice, visibility is great, obviously, especially with the top down. What we'll do is, let me put the top up. You guys should put it up while we're rolling here. You can actually do this up to about 35 miles an hour, believe it or not. So there you go, one hand. As we're driving, I was doing about 30 miles an hour. So just showed that maximum setup for you. Now we have the top up. Even with the top up, they do a great job of giving you plenty of headroom in here. And like I said, I'm 6 feet tall, and it does quiet up the experience. There's still gonna be a lot of wind noise because you have a cloth top. But if you want a convertible, those are just some of the things that you put up with if you want a cloth top convertible. But hopefully this gave you a nice overall feel about what this 124 Spider is. It's like the Miata, just, I'll be honest, it's not as good as the Miata. But we're gonna go ahead, get back to Reeves Subaru and wrap this one up, so I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, it's been a fun time with this 124 Spider. I love driving cars like these because it's nice to be reminded you don't need 700 horsepower to have fun. Having a light car, just enough horsepower, even with the automatic, it was fun. Of course, you, me, and a lot of other people would want a manual instead, but it just goes to show that fun cars are still available, at least for right now, because remember, this 124 Spider is going away. Is it the better car than the Miata? It's really up to what your tastes are. I think from an engine standpoint, I personally would go the Mazda route, but definitely from style, they really hit the nail on the head. But if it's cars like these that you want to see on the channel, leave a comment in the comment section. If you're new and you're on your way out, hit the subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile coming back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Ready Rise family. If you want to help us keep making great content just for you on the channel, click the link in the description, get yourself some Ready Rise merch. Got to give it up to Big Guns McGee, working that camera like a champ, getting the small cars in a big way. So thank you, Tom. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.